That's right. Okay, everyone got it?
Yep.
So you guys didn't like the inclusion of due process and just cause, and we feel like these are like concepts that are mentioned in discipline that, you know, in the disciplinary article that well may be fairly clear for many of us at this table, are not necessarily clear to many of our members and possibly a good chunk of our supervisors. So we wanted to include a definition of both those things in the definition section. You know, it sort of says, you know, will not be disciplined without just cause, will be process, but it doesn't really spell it out, what those things are. We can work with you guys on what would constitute a good definition, but we'd like something about that in there. So for D, we're adding that back in. I think the E is, I believe, nothing new. I think we are accepting the language that you guys proposed. That had it written, or maybe we had already said yes. I forget what E is good. J right. G right back in. I mean, it's a little bit hard for us to give up on this, especially right now, because we're having some issues with the district about exactly what the rest of this one is. But we kind of realize this is maybe a bridge too far for this current round of negotiations. So we're under I, we're giving up on the first step of the disciplinary process. Under J, we're also giving up on the and I think that's the only thing that's new. So we're basically accepting your guys' changes, we're just adding back in D and J and G. I think we're getting close on that. Any questions about that stuff?
I don't have any questions. I mean, it's your same one on D and your same one on G, correct?
Yep.
You know, I guess to me, what I'm wary of, you know, a lot of the concepts in due process are also kind of baked into our just cause standard, you know, the right to have notice of rules, the right to have disciplinary actions be consistent and things like that. And I guess what I don't want is to take legal ideas or standards that we sometimes might disagree about within an arbitration and try and like flesh them out here. You know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't want a grievance over our definition of due process. Like the grievance is, well, we don't think that the discipline was consistent and predictable. So we're grieving Article 2, Section D. So for me, the definitions is not where you would put in the standard. It wouldn't be where it would be where you have fairly kind of just dry run-of-the-mill definitions. So, I mean, that's my concern about, you know, what is the definition creating, you know, potential grievances or more opportunities for that. That's I think my worry. The just cause one, it doesn't say much. So I guess I don't have that. I don't have that same concern. We say elsewhere in the contract that we can't discipline somebody without just cause. So I don't think that G necessarily adds anything to that equation. So
I guess under D though, I mean, this is all stuff that you guys do.
it is. Sometimes we have a disagreement between the parties whether we did this or not, right? I mean, this is practice and what we're, and what we're held to, again, under that just cause standard. I also like, if I look at that due process, I mean, I know this is kind of nitpicky, but like, when we talk about the right to be informed of unsatisfactory performance and have a chance to respond and improve if necessary before adverse disciplinary action is taken. We don't take disciplinary action or in response to unsatisfactory performance, right? I mean, we've talked about that, I feel like, throughout our conversation, that we look at that evaluation track as being separate from our conduct track. And so for us, unsatisfactory performance would not potentially could lead to dismissal later on down the road, but it wouldn't lead to any adverse disciplinary action. So when I think of due process, I think, and I guess maybe this is what it's saying, notice of charges and opportunity to respond. To me, that's kind of your basic due process expectation, right? So it just feels a little bit back into that performance discipline crossover piece that we've had concerns about. Those are my thoughts.
Okay.
So maybe you can like take that definition and maybe make it just a little more of a definition than reading into too much information. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Would you be okay with that? Like, we want our members to be able to look at this and say, okay, what the heck is a due process letter? You know, like, I'm not sure what's going on here. What does this mean? You know, just a basic, you know, I mean, yeah, there's other stuff added in here, but I think we could still work around putting it in a different, just a different context.
Yeah, I mean, due process to me is, you know, in a non-union setting, you can have that stuff end up in a personnel file that you don't even know about.
Mhm.
And that's not the way we do it with a due process, you know, in place.
Mhm.
You get to find out whatever that is. And then you get a chance to have a meeting and respond to it, give your side of the story. And, you know, that's something that is such an important part of the union contract in my mind. And having that spelled out, but I hear your concerns. I mean, we want it to be as inaccurate as the definition as possible. So we're happy to work with you guys.
Okay, we'll talk about that one. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so seems like forever ago, but you know, when HB 2016 was passed, we sat down and sort of renegotiated aspects of this article.
Mhm.
And I feel like we did some good work there. We had some leftover concerns, mostly related to section 4, E4, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll put those to you guys. What also feels like years ago, last May, I think. You know, and we still like would prefer 4 years to 3, but we also appreciate your guys' movement towards the idea that the full-time release officer is more than the, you know, part-time, you know, the 6-hour job is, honestly, it's not even an 8-hour job, it's more. You know, but this movement on your guys' part is helpful to us because it just makes it cleaner for a lot of different reasons. And no, we understand that, you know, like, I mean, say like Melody, if she was a full-time release officer and 6 hours and then came back to the district, she wouldn't come back as an 8-hour, or, you know, we sort of never argued that would be correct, although Melody might not mind it. But, so we're basically ready to team this.
Okay, great.
We appreciate it. The only other thing here is. And we're good with that.
Okay, good deal. Check another one off.
Yep.
Thank you.
Nice having paper, but it's also a little like weird to have some of the stuff.
It's weird to have a crossover. I had that in another place where I didn't want to, they put a whole binder together, you know, because they've been doing it electronically, so I didn't put a binder together, and so now I'm just carrying around a bunch of loose paper. You know,
We need better.
I put a binder together.
I kept track of this hard binder and she's got the visual, so.
Like the paper.
So for the reclass, Article 16, I feel like we've done some good work on this one too. I think that the only real change that you guys gave to us last time, based on a little bit of back and forth, was the September 1st date.
Right,
And we get it, so we're ready to get this one here.
great. Oh,
We have a bit of a chuckle about this one. A1B. We get the feeling we'll probably hear this one too. We're sort of looking at this language. And it's possible that someone could interpret that it says that you could only reduce somebody's total daily assigned work time by 30 minutes.
like they're
6
total,
minutes a day.
they're,
6
yeah.
minutes a day.
Now, could you see that? It would have to be like 30 seconds a day.
I mean, we'd be happy to, you know.
Sounds great.
I was tempted to just leave it like.
And just.
Is that her?
No,
But that would
daily.
have been pretty fun.
Yeah, I appreciate that cleanup, I think.
Well, this
That's
person
what it
has,
means. Is that the only thing in the article, right?
yeah, That's it. I mean, you
Okay.
guys struck original.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd still obviously prefer that. You know, but maybe next time.
Okay. I think the addition of Bailey is probably a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think we're okay with that.
I think it's, you know, hard for us to argue that. I think the timeline for
Yeah.
agreement is long on that.
Yeah. Okay, good deal.
We got
We are.
Right along.
To the dredge transportation. Yeah.
All right, so Article 20. Everyone's favorite. We thought we could probably go back and forth with this one for a while more too. But we do appreciate your guys' movement towards this. And I guess the only thing I'll say about this is like, you know, it's certainly not our intent to like prevent kids from getting to their events. Yeah, that's a goal that we share too. It'd be great if the district could communicate to its, you know, building admin teams that like these requests should be going through transportation, just so we can get, you know, the best sort of like picture of what, you know, what a sort of summer looks like. Be it out of the, you know, sort of an outlier summer or hopefully maybe a more regular summer at some point. We also recognize that we're asking the transportation department to give us this data. We can't expect the transportation department to give us data that they don't have. So we're ready to tee this one too.
Awesome. Thank you.
What? I'll be expecting an extra new shiny.
She wants to know that.
They're all new and shiny.
I know, right? But I have an electric one. Is that too much damage?
Have to go back
Still
to
a
big
year
bus.
No, thank you.
About a year away on the electric.
Carol, are we your way on the electric? Yeah, once they're ordered, they're saying it can take up to a year.
Is that
So,
whole league?
that-
Is the whole league going electric?
No, we got, the three legislative people that represent most of the districts, Senator Solomon, Senator Riley. They start funds to buy it.
That's cool.
So theoretically, we should be able to test out two within the next year. And okay, we need to be passenger rooms.
We're not driverless, right?
Thank you.
I think that's a little stretch.
We have
I
mixed
think
feelings
I'm
about-
gonna get this for now. You're not taking this. Ever.
Yeah.
All right. Right, so this one. I don't remember what the.
Section C was the only thing we were still going over, I think. A lot going on in this, so
Look weird. Sure. So it's good.
It's good. I mean, that's the way we want it. Well, we had quite a bit of conversation on this,
Okay.
so it's, sometimes it's like, did we see that? Did we do that?
We said a lot of things, but this is what we.
What did we decide?
It looks like our last proposal.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's what you guys intended, wasn't like a.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
No, I think
Because
it's.
I passed that out before, like.
It happens.
Yeah, especially as you go in the virtual world and the in-person world, and what could be.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is always a tricky article. And we had a lot of back and forth on it. I feel like it's stronger, a little more clear, and I believe we're in here.
Great.
My team disagreed.
Office.
We're good. Okay. Oh, is that where we'll find out. I like how you buried it out that.
And you get to see people from a different angle.
That's right, that's right.
Same kids get-
Without masks, I don't know if you want to see people from different angles.
Thank you.
That's a good presentation.
But we still have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
All right, so 44. I think we ironed out most of our differences on this. The one sticking point we still have is the 30 versus 20 days. Like, we know that 20 calendar days or 20 business days is not that different from 30 calendar days. I guess our only concern is something like over Christmas break. If it could potentially shorten our timeline for filing agreements if if the district was closed. And we've seen stuff come in right before winter break. And if the district was closed, which we would assume would not be included in district business days, that it would potentially make it so it would be hard for us to respond to that. I mean, current contract right now is a month.
Rob, can you clarify? I see 30 and then I see days. So I don't know if we're talking about calendar days or business days.
Yeah.
Well, under 3, it says days in this article, the agreement shall be
The district business.
Oh.
days. So
I
in
had to
theory,
keep
our-
reading, sorry.
Our proposal is right now to keep it at 30. We recognize also that that would be district days according to this, so it's slightly different than current contract. But we're scooting this one back to you guys, just with that. I mean, we could go back to current contracts, but it's not, that would be difficult for us. Our only concern is if the district is closed, how that would impact us.
I would agree that if the district was closed, we would count it as a district business day.
Well, I think the concern was not if the district is closed, it was if 10-month employees are on a
Yeah.
break and the district is open.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
spring
No,
break,
exactly.
winter break,
Yeah, we would count those days, agreed.
yeah, so that was the concern.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, we would consider those district business days.
Sorry.
The other thing I would say is I think the timelines are important because we want grievances as soon as possible so we can investigate them and people's memories are fresh and things like that. I mean, I think there's been once in my 25 years where an arbitrator ruled in favor of the district solely based on a missed timeline. Like if you filed a grievance on day 32, like an arbitrator is going to find a way to somehow say, well, I still think this is properly before me. I mean, just been my experience. Arbitrators don't like to throw it out on, now maybe if it was filed 9 months later, so you're way past your deadline. But my experience has been, for what it's worth, that they don't get real technical on that because they don't. Anyway, but we need timelines because we need to know what to expect and we need to have things go orderly. So I not arguing against timelines, just we still have to process it. Even if you filed it on, the 21st calendar day, we could refuse to even process. We'd have to process that thing all the way through arbitration.
Yeah.
Just an aside there. Okay, thanks. That's the only thing in this, right? I don't think we.
Yep. Then last, but well, probably least.
Last and least.
Oh, I didn't print out copies of the MOA because it was just,
Yeah, well, and how would we do that? Because we don't.
well, I could have, but I'm just saying, the change, I think we pretty much agreed on it because
Yeah.
there was, just that one change in the amount, I could pull it up, I didn't.
I mean, but it's also like,
It's
we
my paper already.
agree that it should be included in compensation.
Right, okay.
And then how exactly that looks. We'll figure it out. We're not-
So basically, our action would be to delete this MOA. Right, because the piece that we're carrying over into compensation article, that's where it would live. So we would strike this thing. But we just wouldn't renew it. I think by definition, it runs out. It's in effect through the conclusion of the 2018-21 school year. And require mutual agreement to renew it. So we just let this thing expire and take the piece that we're trying to carry forward into the contract.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just for clarification, because we don't all have it in front of us, we are accepting the amount of $45 as the stipend, and then we are accepting the language that those who choose not to receive the stipend, but would like to have a phone instead,
Right.
would be issued a district phone and not receive a stipend.
Right, yeah, that classified employees who are identified as eligible for the cell phone stipend but choose not to utilize personal cell phone will be provided with an alternative means of contact by the district and not receive the stipend.
And it was accepting as proposed your last offer.
Got
Yeah, so it's essentially a TA.
it. Okay, cool.
The TA is this moving to Article 10, not that
Got it.
part. I mean, the only discussion we had that I think is worthwhile just mentioning at the table is that like, a lot of the people use their personal cell phones for district work. A lot, because it's just a lot more convenient.
Well, because they don't have district issued devices, classified employees, many classified employees, particularly educational assistants and SEAs, don't have district issued devices, so their only way to access, email during their workday could be their cell phone.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, I think the idea of cell phone stipends has kind of become a little bit antiquated because I think when those first came into play, not everybody didn't have a cell phone. I mean, I don't know that it's extra expense if you have your cell phone anyway, it's not extra expense to use it for business reasons or work reasons, right? Doesn't cost you anything more.
Unless you're on a prepaid, then.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
suppose, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you might go far.
Yeah, that could be. That's a fair point. I just, one part of me also just always wants people to be careful because there's some public records implications and
Yeah, I mean, that's,
your personal emails become public record in some cases if you're not careful on your texts. So
yeah,
word of warning.
yeah,
Service announcement.
that's why I actually.
Yeah.
That and I can turn this one off, my work phone off.
Yeah,
Well, just for clarity,
should have access to a computer as well, not, I mean, it shouldn't be just accessing email on their phone.
Right, but
Everyone, if
let's say
they,
you have a
if they don't have
situation-
access to it, they should be able to have that, so that means.
I agree with you, they should be able to. I don't know that
But
that's.
I can give you an example where it would be a problem. Let's say you're in a SLC area and yes, there's a phone. However, it's over there, you have a kid, a child that is having an issue and you're over here with that child, you can't go to that phone necessarily, go call and get help, but you still may be able to be right there and have your cell phone and get somebody else. That's how a lot of the SEAs are communicating, because the radios, number one, not everybody has a radio. And also, not all the radio reception is that great in a lot of the buildings.
Right, that wasn't what I was saying, I'm saying for checking email specifically.
Oh, I'm
because-
sorry, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but no, I don't know the
Okay,
situation.
okay. Got you on the email part, yeah.
Okay, so this one, we just need to make sure it pops up in the right place.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Good deal. Well, I appreciate all of those. It looks like we have agreement on several more, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, no, we're really getting down there.
Yeah,
Also, if you spend it over a year at the table, you do a lot of work.
Okay, well, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule because we were gonna take a break. And then come back and we've got financials to propose to you. So Michelle, I don't know what timeline wise, if we just shift things up. How long do we need until we can come back and? be
Yeah,
ready
if we
to go?
can shift the break up so that we have time as a group, a little, maybe 15 minutes before, so we can have a little caucus time.
Yeah.
And come back.
Sure, so what time do you want to come back and present the financials? We take a break right now.
11:15.
Okay.
Does that work for you guys?
Yep, I think so.
All right, well, let's plan on that. We'll be back at 11:15.
I still have to go.
Well, maybe not at lunch.
It's a solid.
Back in the day, at a lunch bar. And then he would just say, Della, bring some coffee and sandwiches.
Yeah, that's some, that's awesome.
Are you guys ready?
Yes. I think so. Are we all here?
Yeah.
Alrighty, all right. I just want to let you guys know that I knew when there was masking happening, I knew the value of it, but I also knew how much I missed seeing people, and seeing faces and watching people interact with each other, and it's just such a joy to be back here with you guys and be able to see us, not just like this, but like to see us and to interact with as humans, and it's just great. So I want you to know that I will appreciate that probably all the rest of my life. That is not something I want to do against.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you. Okay, we're ready. Hannah is, thank you in advance for being my co-pilot as usual. We'll go ahead and get started. Just a note that I did get a request from my team to move a little bit more quickly on the historical items. I understand that we had some people getting a little bit sleepy, so we want to, if I'm going more quickly, understand that, you know, it's important to have information in here historically, especially for folks who maybe haven't seen it before. But I will save us all a little bit more time and go faster. So we'll start with the agenda. We have, of course, a link to our last financial proposal presentation, our guiding principles, the approach to the offer, and then a whole lot of slides that show our movement on both sides, you know, representing values, representing resources, and how we work together over many months now to try and bring this to a place where we can close the gap and get to an agreement that we can implement soon. We'll go ahead and look. We have our guiding principles slide. I'll kind of belabor it. Just want you to know that it is our goal to be stable over time. So as much as we would love to give everyone everything, it's important to remember that it's a trade-off and against our future most likely. Our former CFO and my mentor Adam reminded me to share that we can actually afford anything. We really can, but it comes at a price in terms of positions. And he just wanted me to say over and over and over through years of budget reductions, that is a concern for everyone. And it's not anything against to state devaluing members and the work that happens. It's just a fact of the way we function. So I just want to bring that back to you guys. We do have the next slide, our district approach to the offer. Again, transparency. I shared in small group med and answered questions. Comment to in terms of our financial information, trying to make sure that you guys are in the loop budgetarily. We are going for a 3-year agreement, of course. We want it to be, again, stable over time for members, for students, and for planning purposes, for programming to make sure that we're meeting students' needs. And then again, that, you know, non-traditional in a sense that the district came out with an offer first, way back in the fall, and to respond to the urgency we were getting from folks in terms of cost of living and what's happening out in the community. Again, this is where we're going to go super fast, and basically, you know, really watching that second to the last lower right hand cell. That's the overall package value based on the request that was put forward. So HCU's counter offer to us, you guys were originally at $17 million. We'll move forward. You guys can look at the details. The highlights represent areas where there was movement, and also the areas in green, which were actually the same. We're actually in agreement on, although they can still change if we need them to. You'll see more and more green over time, which is awesome. Our third offer was at 8.7 million. Go ahead. And then you can see offer 3, not a whole lot of change. And HCU really just kind of moving things around and representing different values there. And learning more as we go through the process. But you can see that we did come to an agreement on Article 13, which was Juneteenth holiday, paid holiday for our 12 classified members. Move forward. This is just an informational slide about member placement. This is original data from last fall, so it may have changed a little bit, but probably not that much. There's a link here to the wage and benefit study that was a part of our last bargain. We would go through that process and try and have fewer hard to fill positions by increasing wages in certain areas. So an estimated 45% of members would benefit from what we found in that study. Anyone whose average earnings were at or above what we found in the wage study and the comparables, they didn't change. They're going to move through just like they would as the rest of the agreement. So it's important to know that wasn't damaging to anyone that we're implementing that. Also, the eligible bilingual stipend is will be paid from the student investment account, which kind of shifted some of the expense out of the general fund to help us make more room for the priorities of just operations. Moving forward, okay. This one was our last offer to you guys, and you have probably spent a ton of time kicking the tires on it, talking about it, because you have since brought back us an offer as well. A reminder that we had an A and a B. One was focused on top step, and the other one kind of focused more on a bonus structure, and to help you guys kind of as a team think about where you wanted the eggs in your basket, like what in terms of overall package value. What did you want to bring forward? And you can see that this 4A was the more expensive of the two. Top step, which means it benefited folks in a different way at $9.6 million, which is significant movement from our original offer last fall. So offer 4B, this just talks about the wage study application. I think the slide's a little out of place. Sorry about that, but really talks about our version of that implementation, which could be still over years 2 and 3. Right. This is the bonus structure. Understand that the amount, the flat rate amount was, folks didn't like that amount, and it wasn't put out there to be a final number. It was put out there as a structure to kind of figure out where the values are between top step, a long-term benefit of top step increase versus a bonus, and knowing that we would still be talking more about that. And so moving ahead, see how fast I'm going? Are you guys doing okay?
Yes.
Everybody's hair is kind of blowing back a little bit. We can see that on this one, our the counter that you guys brought to us was really great in terms of coming off of that step advancement, which was an actually very, very expensive thing to try to do. So bringing that into having that back to that 3%, which is the current value, we still have the wage study adjustment as a value as well in year 2. The full impact in year 2 is a little bit more than what we can do. And so you'll see back in our offer back to you that again, it's spread over 2 years. We have the general salary increase at 4.5% for each of the 3 years. And if I have any of this wrong, you guys please let me know, because it will likely impact the dollar amount, but this is our interpretation of what you guys presented. We have, let's see, we added a top step. You guys requested a top step at 4%. And so to us, that showed that was your value, that you saw that as a value to long time standing members. It's a long-term impact. It's not a one-time bonus impact. And so our offer back to you reflects that acknowledgement and honor of your value there. We have the 2% longevity bonus. We're able to calculate a value on that. Our interpretation is that anyone with 15 years of experience in the district, regardless of the years in their position, would receive that 2% payout at the end of the contract year. And the reason it has to be at the end of the contract year is because wages fluctuate throughout the year, additional hours are worked, whatever. So it's a little bit backwards looking. The way to change that would be to make it a lump sum amount where we can meter it out over the whole year. So as long as it's a percentage basis, the only way we could accurately do that is calculate it and pay it in a lump sum, and probably the final paycheck of the year. Just a reminder about how that would need to be administered on a percentage basis. There's an insurance cap increase of $50 per month for each of the 3 years, which is good, great for members and for the pool, the insurance pool, which subsidizes rates for families. We have our Article 13, the holidays. That's another place where we have come to an agreement. The information is the same so far, not that it's final by any means. There was an insurance opt-out increase to $300 in the counter offer to us. That happens in first year and it occurs in all years afterwards. It's kind of a permanent change there, which compounds the cost year after year. So our estimated value on your counter offer was $13.2 million. So there was definitely some movement on your part, and as we try and come together and bridge the gap and still recognize the values that are important to everyone. I added on the next slide, I wanted to bring forward, just for historical purposes, for our 2018-21, our current financial agreement, after months and months and months, this is what we agreed to collectively. And I know that there's a lot of mixed feelings about it, but in terms of value of where we are in our current bargaining, it is significantly higher than what we settled on last time. And I just wanted this here as the context for folks that maybe aren't as in it as deep. We have the wage step advancement at 3%. The general salary increase was 2% across each of the years, and our for a total of 5%. And the experience payment was $500 for folks who were on the top step and had 10 years with the district, and that was only in year 1. Our insurance cap increase was $25 per month across all 3 years. So when you look at the components of our current financial agreement and what we're working with moving forward, you can see why the sustainability is a big question mark for the district in terms of management, because as Brian has brought forward, and I know Mark has brought forward a couple times, our funding mechanism hasn't changed, regardless of the changes we're making here within our agreement. So it's important that that's acknowledged. All right. Here, come on,
Wait.
look at all that.
Can
gravy.
you hold on a minute, Michelle? I'm
What's
sorry.
that?
Can you go back to the previous slide where you
Sure.
showed the costing out of our proposal to you?
Sure, yeah. So that would be slide 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't have 4.5 straight across on all 2 years. We had 4.5, 4.0, and a 4.5.
Okay, so that will bring it down a little bit.
Right. And also, the Article 13 holidays, we took that off.
Took that, so that's not 12-month, that's not something you want in the agreement because.
Well, for the 12-monthers, right?
Yeah, I mean, we took away the idea that Juneteenth would be something that would be. The 12 months would be eligible, no, the 12 months would be eligible.
Yes, they would be
The
eligible.
not 12 months would, we backed out that and we backed out the day of Thanksgiving.
Right, and so this represents the cost of 12-month employees having that as a holiday. This doesn't include, this isn't all, I think our holiday for everyone was closer to $300,000.
Yeah.
So this is just for 12-month employees. So when we come back, it sounds like we're gonna go away and come back, go away and come back. I'll revise this to reflect the 4% the second year. And then that overall number at the bottom will change. So thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question about the next slide too?
Sure.
Was there a step drop? I kind of remember there being a step drop with this settlement, right? That, no?
You mean like an
Wait,
added drop step?
We dropped the steps.
I think we dropped on that first 2
We
steps.
dropped the first 2 steps.
Yeah.
Remember?
I was meeting with Adam Stewart this morning about bargaining because I had a question around the 4% between steps 8 and 9. And he said that the prior bargain, they had extended and collapsed some of the salary schedules.
2015, 2018.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I will have to go back and look. I don't recall, I was a part of this and I don't recall doing that, but we may have, as we develop those schedules. So if that was.
I know we didn't add any steps at the top, whether we cut
add
off
any.
the lower paying steps, I don't
We
remember when.
we cut off the bottom 2, and then the new step 3 was new step 1. I'm pretty sure we did that on this contract.
No, that
Or,
we went from 11 steps down.
yes.
Mm.
And
I was thinking it was the one
Because I was
before.
new employee and I immediately jumped up to that step.
I know. I was
Let me
thinking it was the
check
contract
on
before
that
too.
while we're apart and come back. The good news for members was that then your GSI would be calculated on the new higher
Right.
beginning step than on the lower one. So that would have been a benefit to membership as well. And we would have had to start people at higher rates, you know, in an effort to move those forward. So I'm actually really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I was just curious how it impacted the overall cost of that offer, just as a comparison.
Wouldn't have made it cheaper,
Yeah.
but it would have been to our benefit again, to keep those wages moving forward.
It might have also been a recognition you guys weren't hiring someone. You know,
We also might have had some minimum wage problems at step 1 in some categories. No, we're saying no.
Minimum wage wasn't an issue at that, I mean, it wasn't brought up.
I don't, they kind of blend together.
It could have been the one before. It all kind of runs together.
That's what I was just saying.
It could
that was
have been.
decades ago.
I think it was the one
prior,
but I can't.
Yeah, I was thinking it was the 2015, 18 bargain.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Sorry, it's okay. I pretty much blocked everything out except for, I just wanted to provide the context from the the simple structure that we had come to before and all of the values that we're trying to pack into this now. Really, that was my point, but yeah, that would be interesting to know.
I mean, I like to point out the irony that we're stopping you from getting to the slide.
Sorry.
I can't believe you guys are slowing me down. I'm touched.
We know you wanted to talk about it.
No, it's all good. All good.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
All right, well, let's get back on the shiny green one, because there's a lot in it that we need to talk about. We need a drum roll.
There we go.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, because of the cost impact of the wage study changes, it's still, we need to kind of feather that out over 2 years. So we'll do a year 2, year 3 implementation. One of the challenges of putting it all in year 2 is then we have the full impact for year 2 and year 3. If we can push that off 1 more year, it makes a difference for us significantly. So that's the rationale around the wage study. But the end amount, the 6.22, like the impact is real, and we are in collective agreement on that's where we go. We have our wages, the step advancement is 3% across the board. And then you can see our general salary increase has increased considerably, with a goal of bringing everyone to a 7% increase for this year. So that is significant in many ways. One of the things that we needed to do in order to make that work financially was to kind of flatten out the current salary schedule and add the new top step at 3% instead of 4%. So that kind of brought some of that cost back down and allowed us to spread that general salary increase at a higher rate across everyone. And so there's not going to be a spike for someone moving between 8 and 9 at 4%. They will receive the same 7% as everyone else. And I know that we've heard over and over from you guys that that's a value, that consistency across membership is as much as possible. So we have 4% in the first year, 3% and 3%. Which is reflective of one of the scenarios we have out there with our HEA partners as well right now. Not knowing, recognizing that they don't have to be the same, but still understanding that there's parallels there and there's alignments that you guys want to see. So one of their values is getting everyone to 7% as well. That's been something that's come up in them over and over and over. So because their step movement is 4.2%, the general salary increase will be off. We offer them is less, so that it's 7%. So they're apples and oranges, but we're trying to be aligned as much as we can across all groups. So, and again, adjusting our salary schedule so that there's not that 4% blip between 8 and 9, but that it's 3% across the board. And that new top step has that 3% increase as well. We backed away from the longevity bonus, recognizing that in year 2, we have available to us funds through a state grant, House Bill 4030. We haven't seen any rules around that yet, but it's focused on recruitment and retention. I'm sure you guys have talked a lot about that, but we're really going to count on that in our negotiations with you to guide what that bonus will look like for year 2. Because it is the second year of the biennium, I do anticipate the powers that be that have gifted us that will expect those funds to be spent next year and not carry forward into the next biennium. So that will likely be a year 2 available to us only. And because the top step is a kind of this long term, you get it every year. We backed away from that bonus structure and opted to keep the general salary increase at that higher 3% rate, then dropping it to make room for bonus structure. We have our insurance cap increase, again, $50 per month each of the 3 years. We have the holiday for 12-month employees. For the insurance opt-out increase, that benefits, folks who don't take our medical insurance. The current opt-out is $200 And we've kind of phased it in again into year 3 at $50. And again, that was to make room for the rest of the increase that we have built in here. We are counting that employee wage portion to the pool, and you can see that the estimated value of this offer is just right under $10 million. All right, now you guys probably need to talk amongst yourselves about that. We'll keep going because I have a few more slides and I'm still going to talk really fast.
Okay, yeah, this is my question.
Yeah, sure. I think this is just to explain how, because we would have step 8 to 9. So one of the things that we were aiming for was to have consistency throughout the schedule. So for whatever reason right now, the last step has a 4% increment instead of 3. And so one of our goals was to have a consistent 3 throughout. So we landed at 7% increase for all employees, which means that current step 9, because it has a 4% step right now, its GSI would only be at 3%, because the step people got there was 4%. So again, our goal is to have 7% at all places on the salary schedule, which again was a goal that we worked really hard with HEA on as well. And that was, I think, reflective of where people saw inflation coming in this year, somewhere around that 7% range. So trying to have that be a target point. So in the way it gets phased in is a little bit different because we've got that kind of larger step right now. But that's also the rationale for transitioning that new top step to a 3% instead of 4%, which I think, as Michelle pointed out, freed up money to put towards the GSI. So, you know, previously somebody at the top, under our last proposal, somebody at the top would have gotten a 4% new step and a 2.5% GSI. So that would have been a 6% increase. They'll get a 7% increase under this proposal, but it's the mid-schedule people who I think are impacted more, because previously they would have gotten a 3% step and a 2.5% GSI, so 5.5. Now they will get a 7% instead of a 5.5. So it's a 1.5% higher for them than under our last proposal.
And then on year 2, thank you, Brian, on year 2, the GSI will be calculated on the new step 1, and the old step 1 will change. We just talked about, you know, some of that when we're expanding and collapsing. That would be the mechanism for coming up next year.
Because we are dropping a step next year.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we have some salary sample schedules. You can see how the wage study is applied in year 2 and 3, and here's some of the kind of things you need to know if you're trying to calculate between them, and how to read the schedules. And then the link down there to the bottom goes to a workbook with all of the information laid out in there for folks that want to explore on a personal or colleague basis in terms of impact of the time. Each year has a different tab in there. Go ahead. So this morning, kind of last minute, threw together some samples by position, so that it's easy to see the impact of the offer in terms of the hourly rate and insurance increases, and the longevity piece, or the House Bill 4030, and how that would impact everyone in year 2, which is 22-23. So by digging into the salary sample schedule workbook, folks can get all of this in information for themselves. I just thought we could do a quick illustration for bus drivers and SUs. Move ahead. So next steps, these are this is my closing slide. It always talks about what's next, and I didn't see any more bargains on the schedule. So we need to be scheduling those, and I think that's on the agenda too, if they're needed. We have an April board work session, and then we have the work session and regular meeting where they come together and do action items, and then some more in May. And then a reminder that this would be ratified by HCU and the board in order to implement. And then in order for us to have the information processed by payroll, get all the technical stuff done, it will need to be to them by the 1st for retro pay and to the 5th for regular pay. So if it comes in between that time, we could get people on the new salary schedules moving forward. But the retro piece is almost a separate function where it's just a lot more manual adjustments that have to happen there. So just a reminder about that.
I don't think it's super relevant, Michelle, but I don't think our work session is April 5th.
I think it's the 12th, yeah.
If it's next Tuesday, I don't have the agenda prepared.
I think it's the 12th too. Thank you. In my bad dreams, it was on the 5th. So I will update that too, so that when you guys are looking at this, you'll see the correct information. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Our team can also, I mean, they had to live through this as well prior to the live bargain. So if you have specific questions, any one of these guys can chime in as well.
And we appreciate what you do. Don't mistake our impatience to see what you guys offer us.
I don't have anything to add. I think we did a good job of hitting all the points.
No, we appreciate the movement. You probably need to talk.
Yeah, so Hannah, could you send us that?
Yeah, I'll wait for those few updates and then.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just add on the spreading the salary increase for the survey results over 2 years. I wish we could go to legislature and say we need 52% this year instead of 50%. We need to make up for how more than maybe, but they just don't. Legislature doesn't work that way. If we could get them to shift our budget around, great. They don't go on that.
Well, we have a couple of articles that are in our court that I think we'll be able to respond to you after a caucus. So I think we'll be able to turn those around in whatever time we now take for lunch and caucus.
Okay.
So I think because we only have two.
Yeah, we were just gonna go back and adjust.
Oh, so we'll work on that during caucus.
Okay, great.
And Hannah's gonna be here.
Yeah, I just tracked it. It's still in the car.
Driving down Brookwood, getting lost.
Okay, well,
We're slated to come back, I think, around or connect at 1:30, but we can connect in between if we need to.
yeah, so that's the agenda time, but I mean, I think we can be flexible. Just kind of keeping communication on that.
Awesome.
That's appropriate after that.
Oh, is it? It's soda.
You're right, no, but I do like this fancy straight. Is that from the regular machine?
Yeah, Christina said. Staple was staple. And I said, is that enough data? I know it's been the entire time.
Obviously, we don't put enough time in college.
Just like
We're gonna stick with that.
everybody's talking.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it is. But just stay down.
It doesn't cut your fingers open.
Well, the paper still, yes.
Right, I agree. I just reviewed that open session.
What?
Okay, can I?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, so did she just pass out Article 17?
Yeah.
So that was just the TA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Article 2.
You guys
Oh,
don't,
okay.
you guys don't want to counter on the daisy thing?
No, we're good with that. I signed one. Right here.
I signed the day, but I signed it. Oh, yeah.
It's nice to have a TA.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you
Yeah, let me do that.
Oh, sorry, I'm living in the past. I don't know what date it is. All right, you guys have article 2 in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a counter proposal. We've incorporated your definition under G, just cause, so that one's as you had written it previously. That one's in there. Took a whack at a different definition of due process. You can read it for yourself. I mean, that's typically how we would look at due process. Not a performance situation, but a misconduct or disciplinary one. And we typically think of it the right to be informed of allegations and an opportunity to respond prior to discipline being implemented. So that's our suggested definition there under due process. Again, I think E, we were in agreement on. G is yours, and you had accepted our proposal on I and J. K, we had been in agreement on. You accepted our proposal on L. So I think that it would just be your review of our suggested definition of due process on section D.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions?
I just signed the back. Because you had to put the one.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think the only other one that we have that's coming around is grievance, Article 24. And we're just proposing on grievance to go back to current contract language on A2, which is the 30 calendar days, which we think does, I mean, it works with like holiday break and spring break because, you know, those are a 2-week and 1-week break respectively, or maybe holiday breaks a little bit longer, 2 weeks, I don't know. But the 30 days gives that buffer. So we're reluctant to go to 30 calendar days just because it stretches out that initial time period. And we do want to encourage people who have grievances and for the union to file them as quickly as possible. So we can start investigating while people's minds are fresh and so forth. So even though you see crossouts there, that's just to reflect kind of the back and forth that's gone on. That is, no, that would stay. But so A2 is as currently reads in the contract.
Okay.
That's the only area where we had differences in that proposal. A3 would still work because it says days are district business days unless otherwise specified. So A2 would otherwise specify. And I think that's it. I mean, with what you brought back this morning, and we had numerous TAs there. I think those are the only language ones that we were still continuing to work on. Those two.
Aside from the Which one's
Well,
that, summer bargaining?
Yeah, can we clarify the status on the summer bargaining unit MOA?
I thought we were moving that one forward.
Okay, I might have just not gotten my notes completely.
That's what I-
Do you know if we signed it or?
I don't remember signing. it. I thought we were just gonna change the dates or just re-sign it as is.
I do want to mess with it. Might have to rethink. I need to discuss this.
Oh, I got a few things I should.
Say what?
They're probably the same ones.
Anything else that we need to address?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Insurance.
So the ball's in our court
Yeah.
for economics. I have to go do this stupid thing in about 15 minutes.
okay,
And then Hannah and I talked yesterday, well, via email, that we're pretty much on sync, in sync on articles as far as, what I showed that we had enough and what she showed we have enough, so I think
great. Yeah, I mean, if there are any differences there,
we'll figure it out
Yeah.
as we go, but I think we're pretty much in sync here.
okay, good deal. All right, well, just let us know when you guys are ready to kind of start up again.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
I know our audience is getting frustrated with the breaks. And I'm trying to explain to some of them that we're breaking because we are caucusing and exchanging articles.
No, we're getting things done, so,
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of bargaining sessions would go all day, and there'd be lots of caucuses.
yeah.
You know, and I think they've gotten kind of used to the very, okay. We really do appreciate the movement. That was probably a bigger step from you guys than we would have imagined right at the back. So we really appreciate it. But we'd also be a little remiss if we didn't push it a little bit. So basically what we're proposing is for the wage study to be in there in year 2 and 3. Step advancement, 3% for the 3 years. Pushing the envelope a tiny bit with COLA. We like your 4% in year 1. We're asking for 3.5 for year 2 and 3. Pushing it up to 6.5 for those years. And then the add drop. And then instead of our 2% longevity in that we were proposing before for 15+ year employees, we're kind of moving a bit towards your guys' original proposal of the $5 round. So $750 in years 2 and 3, so not in this year. And then that would be payable annually to people who have been here for 15 years. At least in theory in perpetuity, but there's another contract. So we're a little confused about the insurance cap increase because we thought you guys were actually at 50, 50, and 50, or did you move it to 50 and 100, Michelle, or?
No, the change that we had was in the insurance opt-out increase. The insurance cap increase has been fairly static. We've been kind of the same on that line for a while. It was the opt-out. It was the insurance opt-out increase from 200 to 300. And instead of there, I mean, our original plan has changed a little bit as we tried to make more room for wages at the front. So our last proposal was increase from 200 to 250 and not do it until the third year. So that was the difference there.
Okay, well, we've sort of gone back to, I think, our last proposal, except we've dropped year one. I get that right, Pete? Yeah. So the holiday thing, I mean, I know we're talking about 50 grand, which is an enormous amount of money, but could you explain to us how that's an expense? Because it's 12-month employees. They would have been paid for that anyway.
Right, but and it's indicated on there, it's the value of the work. So even if it falls on a weekend, they are taking a weekday off, which would have had value to us in terms of the work, the wages that they.
So it's a
have.
productivity drop?
I'm sorry?
It's like productivity drop, basically?
Yeah, it's still needed to be quantified, even though it's not necessarily an additional cost. We need to represent it here in terms of, to the board and the community, but it did come with a cost. If not everyone was to get it, it would be a similar cost across a bigger group of people, because it is a lost day of work. And now they have the same amount of pay, but we're not expecting the same amount of work. So that was my attempt to quantify it for our purposes.
So what about the other holidays that do the same thing?
Well, we would have
to
to go back to those where they were included here, but you could see where the 10-month was another, I want to say it was 225 on top of the 12-month employees. So they were different. If we were to add the day after Thanksgiving, those other days that we looked at, it was a while ago that we had that conversation, but I represented the value of the work the same way as I did here, only across a broader group of people, because they would be getting, in that sense, it would be an added cost, because right now we're not losing any work because they're not working. We're just be paying more money for no additional services.
So the dollar signs for that, are they included in the estimated value of the offer, or are they not?
Not for the 10-month employees.
So I mean, in the total, whenever you give us
Is
your
the
offer.
$50,000 included
It's
in the,
It is
Yeah.
included.
And is it like 8 hours of work? Is that, 8 hours of work for the people who are 11 monthers?
Who are 12.
12.
Yeah, I guess we've always had a little hard time wrapping our head around the holiday issue. But again, it's, it could be considered rounding error. So,
I mean, it is not a large line item in the grand scheme of things. I mean, for us, you have to give it some value, or it's a day you're paying and not having work. I mean, if you say it has no value, why not give them 10 more holidays or 20 more holidays or 30 more? It costs us nothing, because that's days that you're paying public funds and not having work performed. So it does have some value associated with it.
Okay. Any other questions on this or comments from my team?
I feel like the question that Debbie was asking earlier wasn't about how much it would cost for other people. I think it was like, well, how come we don't see July 4th on there then? How come we don't have
Right.
to?
It's just not new.
It's a
It's not new.
you guys are adding.
Right, so
You're asking a request for Juneteenth. We're not, but we aren't requesting that. That was a federal holiday mandate. It's not us requesting.
it's not a federal mandate to pay people on that day. So we could make it a non-contract day.
Yeah.
And not have people work, but we wouldn't have to pay folks. And so this would, the number that Michelle's been carrying each time at that lower right-hand corner, it's only been new dollars. So things like July 4th and whatnot wouldn't ever be reflected in that.
So I do have a question about year 2 and the longevity stipend. Are you assuming, like, you don't care how that's funded? So that could be our classified employee portion of House Bill 4030.
Well,
Like, that wouldn't come on top of that necessarily.
I mean, I guess our problem in some ways with HB 4030, I mean, we obviously want, I mean, we think that like, we don't want to like use that entirely for, you know, and we don't exactly know how much money it is and how it's going to be administered. And how, you know, there's a lot of unknowns about it. And it's a little hard to like bargain it into a contract, like to be decided what this is going to be. You know, so in some ways, although we're certainly interested in that money, we don't necessarily feel like tying it into this settlement makes a huge amount of sense. I mean, I don't know when it's going to necessarily roll out. I mean, I know, you know, I have districts like Portland Public, they bargained a contract last year, they gave out bonuses this year for retention, fairly sizable. And I assume that they'll be, you know, probably using some of this money to help pay for that. You know, so the other thing that we have a hard time tying that House bill money to is it only going to the 15-year plus employees. When it probably should be a stipend that would go to all, you know, to classify across the board.
It does need to go to everybody. I think that's our.
My thinking around putting it there in year 2 is that we would work through those details of distribution together. But if I'm interpreting, like I would say that at this point, I would say that's how we would cover the $750 for those people. So there's, I don't know, I was relying on that pretty heavily to cover the bonus structure for next year. So whether we work it out in MOA separately or it's here, I think that I just want to have it acknowledged that this 750 could be funded by that, but it might not be on top of that.
Right, but that sounds, there's a lot of money coming, like, there's a lot of money coming, and 750 for, you know, with the employees, I know we have to decide that later, but that's not good enough, in my opinion, that's not good enough.
And our proposal is 750 would be every year.
Right, and that's for the year.
So it's
for
not
the-
just in year 2, but also be in year 3 and then beyond, beyond, because it's a longevity bonus.
It was bargaining in.
And then House Bill 4030, from our understanding, is retention and improvement. So it should benefit every employee, not just those that have been here 15 years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is us coming off of a percent base, you know, that would essentially increase the amount of, you know, what people would get paid after 15 years on down the line. This is certainly a different concept.
Yeah, this is more member friendly in terms of payout, right? Where you don't have to wait until the end of your contract year to receive funds. It can be meted out as part of the regular paycheck. So logistically, this lump sum is much easier to administer and I think more member friendly. For sure. It does shift away from that percentage as a portion of what you have earned to a lump sum for everybody, probably prorated on hours, right? Or I guess that would have to be determined too. Regardless of the number of hours or FTE or positions, how is this?
I guess that's a good clarifying question. Is the proposal independent of whether I'm 4, 5, 7, 8?
Are we assuming that 750 is for 12-month, 8-hour day employees and prorated based on that, or?
The 750 is like, if you're here 15 years and above, that's yours.
No, I know, but regardless, so if you're a 6-hour employee, do you get
Yep.
6/8 of 750 or do you get 750?
So thank you for being here 15 years, so before.
Our
I was just trying to understand.
I understand.
Just trying to know what the proposal is.
Our proposal is 750,
Okay.
whether you're 8 hours, 6 hours, doesn't matter.
I mean, and I don't know, I really talked about it with my team. I mean, you know, before when you talked about the 2%, or when you know, you had said payable in one lump sum at the end of the year. I don't know if I heard a huge amount of different ideas besides that about in terms of how it would be administered.
Yeah, well, our initial lump sum, I think we had that in there at one point for week, maybe. No, there was one of them in there where we did that. The same question would apply. Like, is this prorated? And if so, what is it based on? And what I'm hearing from you is that regardless of FTE, if they've been here 15 years, they get that full amount. And it, I mean, that has a financial impact to you, so it matters how we look at that. But I think I understand now your guys' approach to it. Where somebody else could be normally have a 4-hour a day position, and under the 2%, if you base the lump sum on their single position and it's prorated, it'd only be at half. But if you wait until the end of the year, then you're capturing any extra hours that they worked too on that percentage basis and just pay it all. So it here and more there, as far as what it matters to the employee potentially, but for costing purposes, it needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
I think if you're all in agreement that it's $750 no matter what. then-
That's how I'm taking the proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and call this? Unless anybody has a question. Okay, thank you.
If you have any other questions, just show up.
Oh, yeah.
I've had to cost myself.
Those are freezing.
Yeah. It's
Gerald's always freezing too, right?
But it is hot, that
You
room.
guys
I take my
must have-
coat off in there and
Oh, did you step out?
other room is warmer.
Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, we're fine with the definition of due process.
Just a second here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
So we're fine with your guys' definition of due process. We're fine with our own definition of just cause. So we're in essence ready to TA this. I think the only reason we might want to hold out for it, I mean, it would only be like compensation or insurance, but just in case there was some definition and both sides agreed, might want to go in here, maybe we could just hold on to this guy just a little bit longer.
That's fine.
That makes sense. I mean, but we have TA on all the languages in there now.
Okay.
And then we're also in agreement with your Article 24.
Okay, great.
So we're done with yours.
So that one is good.
And that is a TA.
Okay. Excellent. Debbie, are you signing?
Oh, no, I don't have them to sign. Oh, these are mine?
Well, no, these are mine, but you should have. Here's one.
Well, these are just things that are.
I know.
Yeah, but I think they're.
17 signed.
Yeah, it's just.
Okay.
You guys have everything?
17.
I don't like that. How much is the time at it?
No, not at all.
Yeah, which one do you mean?
24.
Wait, that's what this is 24.
Yeah, we have to sign
Oh,
two copies. We would
Yeah.
sign two copies.
Yeah.
When I sign, we always sign.
Have you just been signing one and giving it to us?
I
'Cause that's
have.
fine, we'll just make copies of it and send it, and I can send you back.
Well, I think only one
Yeah.
copy because there's like a couple of them, and
That's
then.
that's the only.
So we
one.
need the same thing. And definitely we're waiting.
We have record.
Okay, so Michelle's gonna start from slide 1. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on, you guys. I know you were excited.
Let's go back.
Yeah, so, I think what you can see What we've come back to you with is essentially the district's last proposal, but we've inserted a $500 longevity bonus for years 2 and 3. And just a little background, I mean, we had discussion as a team, as we were coming into the meeting today, how do we sort of want to try and position things? Do we want to leave ourselves a series of moves? Do we want to kind of put our best foot forward? And so I feel like we put a lot of energy into the first one, in the movement that we had available to us. And we really just kind of maxed ourselves out with this, just to be real transparent with you, and gone a little bit beyond, I think where we were prepared to go even to try and bring resolution. But once we get to this level and that dollar value, we would have to start repurposing dollars or moving them around. So adding the $500 on as the longevity bonus for the 15+ year folks in years 2 and 3 would be our change. We've stated the 3% on the GSI. That's the proposal that we've made to the licensed group. That's the proposal that we're committed to with that group. So we feel like there's some rationale, especially with the wage study adjustment going in years 2 and 3. There will be about a half of the bargaining unit that will be getting more than the 3% in those 2 years. Your change in the insurance opt-out was an extra $250,000. And so that, again, pushed us beyond, and we didn't really feel like that was where we had the most discussion or heard the most urgency behind. So it felt like devoting resources there did not make as much sense as putting money towards that $500 longevity bonus. So that's why we went that direction and left it the opt-out the opt-out's still an improvement over current. Takes till year 3 to get there, my understanding. But it does improve for people. So that's where we're at. We'd really like to be done. I know that you guys would like to be done. This has been a long process. I think both sides have worked hard. I know that sometimes it's frustrating on the other side of the table. We really do feel like we've moved on the finances far more than we thought we were going to at the beginning of this process. And comparatively speaking to other settlements, we shared that slide with you, and this is a much better settlement than what we've traditionally had here. Not because we feel like we're in a better financial position, but because of numerous external factors that are driving that. So we're hoping that you'll give this some consideration and that we can have an agreement and that we can start giving people retro pay.
So on this one, if you were to move the insurance opt-out to year 1, it would change the whole.
It was.
Yeah, and it kind of compounds each year, right? So I got pushed.
I was surprised the economic impact of it.
You said it was 200 and what?
$250,000, your version of the insurance opt-out as compared to what you see up here on that line.
So it's similar to the $500.
Yes.
Yeah, again, I mean, we would entertain, emphasizing that insurance opt-out instead. We just hadn't heard as much from your group about the importance of that as much as we've heard about wanting something on as a longevity bonus. So it felt like to us that was more of a priority, but we may have misread that, but that's what we heard.
Part of the reason that it's steeper than it seems like it should be is that my understanding was that we're paying people more and we're adding $50 to what goes into the insurance pool. So the true cost of increasing the opt-out is $100 for each month per person that does that, not just $50. It's represented as $50 here because that's what the employees would see, but that's not the financial impact of increasing the amount that goes into the insurance pool as well.
You lost me on that.
And on your longevity, you only have it for those 2 years, and then beyond that, there's nothing.
But I mean, our assumption is we would bargain. Typically, when we have something like that, we look at it as a feature of whatever bargain that we're in. I mean, I think we had something similar, not identical, but similar the last time we bargained. Was it in one of the years?
Because it was in the first year, so it's
In the first
specified in the language, which year it's associated with.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
like
think our thought.
topped out plus 10 or something like that.
in the last contract. Yeah.
So if we wanted to say something like, in year one, we were gonna say anybody who was 20+ years gets 500, and then in year two, everybody that's 15+ gets 500. How many more people would, how much would that cost to add, just like the 20+ year person in the first year?
I don't know how many
I
folks.
can tell you without looking at our employee data.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
closely. It wouldn't be less. Pretty sure.
Believe it or not, we're not asking for less.
Yeah, I don't know how many folks you guys have who are at that 20-year threshold. We'd have to look.
But it would be less than $250,000 more, so that's.
So is the House bill tied into this $500 longevity, or is that sort of like, is that to be decided?
I think it's to be determined. We haven't seen the rules around those funds. It's my understanding that the district, it's a grant. The district would apply for the grant. Anything that we would have access to pay employees above and beyond what's in the contract, we would have to come together and decide that as part of an MOU. So.
Yeah, we'd have to bargain before we gave the financial benefit, so.
Chances are the grant
Unless you
is
did
not gonna
something.
have rules that states what classification employee gets how much or whatever, like that is all gonna be designed based on what our data shows us we need to do to meet the requirements of the grant in terms of recruitment and retention. We haven't seen those rules yet.
I would say the legislative intent was to recognize how difficult of a hiring position districts are in and try to do something to help fix that and keep the people that are here.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And some, a lot of districts have given fairly large bonuses.
Yeah, with their ESSER fund, or, yeah, we
Yeah.
chose not to lay anybody out instead.
But you can see that the addition of the longevity bonus for $500 increased the overall package by almost $500,000. So looking at that little corner box there,
Yeah, we
we
did
went up
great,
to
Ken.
10, almost 10.
As far as laying people off, I mean, people are quitting, you don't have very many to lay off.
No, I think he's talking about during state parts of the pandemic while we were within it. Many districts laid people off that they weren't utilizing to provide services. So they laid off food service or they laid off.
Yeah, or it was just the vacancies. I mean, we captured some of that here too, I think,
We did for the first year.
I mean, unemployment did kick in, so I mean, then a lot of people quit. So. 600 bucks a week, yeah.
Michelle, when we asked for the 3.5% on year 2 and year 3, how much does each 0.5% cost?
It's about $205,000
For that.
per half.
So if we were to drop the longevity bonus, you might have been able to give us that.
I think we still would have had concerns about adding COLA or GSI, see, I still call it COLA, adding GSI in years 2 and 3 beyond that 3, because of the cumulative or the compounding effect of that, I think, and also just recognition, we're not bargaining for both groups here, but we are bargaining at the same time, and so we are cognizant of what our implications are for our other group too, and, the cost involved there. So, that's a factor that we look at.
Anything else, team? We need to, we've got about 10 minutes left.
Well, I mean, we definitely need to talk to our membership too before anything, so. We'll have to meet with them and go over this and see if it's satisfactory or not, or if we want to keep at it. Because ultimately, they're the ones that we're driven by, right? They drive us to do this. So, yeah, so I think that's I think that's probably a wrap for today, right?
We should probably, yeah, set up some follow dates and.
Okay.
I mean, that's gonna be a challenge. I mean, I guess I see the necessity of that if you guys have a counter proposal for us. I know I'm gonna struggle to find a date in April. I have 2 days in April right now that I will bargain on coming in. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have 2 days in April?
Yeah, which date?
Yep, a couple Fridays,
Mm.
they're people's favorite. Yeah.
Friday. Non-school days.
I think it probably would be easier for us to talk in caucus about what dates work and, instead of trying to coordinate so many calendars all at once.
Several people are gonna be out the 21st.
Through the
Oh,
25th.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, there's like 4 of us that will be going.
yeah,
Talking financials over. so-
well, that's why I wonder if it could be done by Zoom.
Oh, that's true, yeah. we could do it.
Yeah,
Remotely.
That makes a little bit.
Right now, I mean, it's short financial.
Yeah.
Because we've TA'd all articles, correct?
Except for Article 2, which we kind of left
Which we
open
left
just in
open.
case.
It's probably-
Anything that's financials,
Right.
but other than that,
Other than that,
Yeah.
for TAs.
okay, yeah. I mean, we can, I think if you can give me like 5 minutes to talk to my team and then we'll let you know, like, I mean, I would like to talk to our membership.
Sure.
I know the schedule's are tight, so maybe we can figure out when we can do that and then.
Yeah, and I was just saying the 8th, because that's a non-student contact day.
Oh, the 8th,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine for me. I mean, that's
next
fine for
Friday,
everybody.
right?
Yeah, but isn't that like a no work day for classified as well, though? No. Is that the? No, it's this,
It's a great prep.
oh, it's a great, it's not the
Great.
student engagement day. But is it the?
No, it's not the staff and student support days in May.
So but classified,
Would typically work on that day, so.
So the 8th is nobody, it's no contact, right? Or no
Yeah.
contract?
right, but I would.
Right, we would, as up is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I wouldn't work, it'd be a time.
I could do in the morning.
Yeah, but my own time that day would be.
I've got to be at the river.
We do get it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you just said it.
It wasn't really that.
Okay, so the 8th, at what time are we looking?
9 o'clock.
8 or 9. I mean,
That'd be fine. And if we do it, we can do it Zoom, I think, right? I mean, do we? really-
That's the only way I can do it that day.
Let's just.
It's the only way I can do it. I have to get to Hood River. From here to Hood River is a lot.
Yeah, let's just do it Zoom.
That's
because-
An hour to it.
Because I think we're pretty, I mean, I think it's just a matter of,
Shuffling.
Just- yeah, I think it'll be fine with Zoom.
Okay,
I mean, 9 o'clock, it's nice to be able to
April
do
8th.
this and.
Yeah, 9
Very
o'clock
good.
on April 8th. And are we Zoom like an hour or an hour and a half?
Oh, no, it's gonna be Zoom. Did we work, I don't know, I don't have the thing in front of me. We haven't done anything with Article 12. Did we work on language on Article 12?
which articles?
That's
Insurance?
the insurance part, that, all that gets added in after.
I think we just need the cap change. I didn't think there was language change on that, was there? So,
Yeah, we did, I thought we did.
cap change, opt-out change.
Yeah, the financial.
I don't know if we did language on that or not. If we did that.
I think, again, there'll be 3 pieces. Isn't there a piece about some of the-
I don't know. That's what last
What is it? What is it showing?
We haven't
Yeah.
presented anything for this.
Okay, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on these.
Yeah, we might have to meet and work on 12 of some other aspects of that article rather than just, I think we had it open and I don't think we ever
Okay.
we ever did anything about it. I know, sorry, Ms. Butcher.
No, if you have other things that need to be worked on, I would really encourage you guys to communicate with Michelle as whenever you can,
Yes.
even in advance of the date.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not so sure it would be. I don't know. We'll have to look at it. All right, that was an oversight on our part, so apologize for that.
Well, and we can draft the language for both compensation and insurance, you know, based on what we have so far, you know, so that it aligns with what you've seen.
That's true. We put that in language. That'd be great. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today, appreciate it.